Hi, this is English 115 Technical Writing, and we're going to talk about document design for graphics and images. So with designing documents, what you want to do is you want to plan the design of your print and online documents. And in order to do that well, you need to have a basic understanding of design principles. So that's what we're going to talk about in this video. I'm going to go over just some basics, and I do expect you to incorporate these design principles in the documents that you create in this class. So what are some of your design goals? We want to make a good impression on our readers. We want to look professional, polished, like we know what we're talking about, we know what we're doing. So it's really important to have a strong sense of design when you are creating documents. You want to good design can help readers understand the structure and the hierarchy, figure out what's important, what's most important and least important. And good design also helps readers find the information they need quickly and easily. Think, for example, like a table of contents. And they help readers understand the information. You can do this for example, by numbering or bulleting information, highlighting certain things, underlining, and it helps readers remember information. So good document design is really integral to create a good, solid document. So to begin with, to begin your design plan, you want to analyze your audience and purpose. Just like with anything we do in technical writing, we need to know who's going to be reading or using the document, reviewing it, and why are they going to be looking at it? For what's their purpose? Is it to get information? Is it to be persuaded? Is it to quickly look up data? So you need to do that. The other thing you need to do right off the bat is determine what your resources are. Do you have access, for example, to a color printer so that you can incorporate color in your document design? Do you only have access to a black and white printer, in which case you're going to be much more limited? Or do you work for a company that has a graphic designer in-house who can guide you through the design process? So you have resources will really be dependent on your profession, where you're working, and what you're doing. So there's some basic design principles that we're going to talk about, and they are proximity, alignment, repetition, and contrast. So those four principles we're going to look at today. So proximity is what organizes this page. And what you can see by looking at this page is that you've got the hand on the mouse, and which talks right under fun activities, and then the parent. You can see the next under parents and educators, we have a large figure with a small figure, so that kind of gives us that. And you can see how everything is very parallel. We've got color here that helps organize it. We've got lines here, so that all of the information, the graphic, the image, is right next to or aligned with the information that it is describing. And so, and you see that with the bottom image as well. So this is proximity. Proximity means closeness, how close something is. Alignment is what organizes this page. And if you look at this page, it looks like basically an outline. So we've got Roman numeral V, which is 5, completing the SF 424 R&R application. And then we've got capital A, and then we've got a 1, 2, 3, and then we've got B, application instructions, and a 1, and probably a 2 and a 3. So you can see how these are all aligned. I've got the 5, the Roman numeral 5 is to the far left, then we're indented a little bit more, and so on and so forth. So this principle of alignment tells us what the hierarchy of information is. This is completing the SF 424 is the title or the big category. And then this, the A and the 1, 2, and 3 break the categories down. So some tools to help you organize a page. Some things that you can use are icons, like we saw in that very first graphic on proximity. Color. You can use dividers and tabs. For example, if you're creating notebooks for a presentation, you can have cross-reference tables, headers or footers, and page numbering. These are all items that can help you organize a page. Repetition organizes this page. So we've got identify key terms, all right, and you'll notice that the headings are all the same color and they have an icon next to them that's half kind of orange and blue. And we've got bullets here, we've got columns here. So these are all examples of types of repetition. Okay, you can do columns, bullets, numbering. So those are all types of ways that you can organize a page using the principle of repetition. This is contrast. This is an example of contrast. And you can tell from here, this is the title, the Bureau of Educational and Cultural Affairs. And then you can see that the menu is in a different color. And so when and wherever I have my mouse will change color. So if I'm clicking on impact, then that's a different color. And so that's the principle of contrast that can help you tell a reader where to go or how to get someplace and identify different areas, in this example on a web page. So learning theory is related to page design, or I should say page design is related to learning theory. And really there are three key concepts in learning theory that we use with page design. And one is chunking, which means we emphasize units of related information. Another way of chunking is, I like to think of it as almost like what a paragraph is. We chunk like information together. We put it together in a contained unit like a paragraph. Cueing is the visual distinctions to indicate levels of importance. So we saw that with our titles and our use of color on the example that has outline, that was like an outline with the Roman numeral 5, that kind of gives you those visual distinctions. Bulleting could do that, numbering could do that, color can do that. And filtering is the use of visual patterns to distinguish types of information. You may or may not have noticed in your Blackboard course that I use the color red to indicate a graded assignment. So anything that's in red is a graded assignment. That's a type of filtering, a use of color to distinguish information to you. So white space. White space is also important, and white space is not necessarily white, although it can be white, but it's the blank space on a page. So for example, to the right of this page, you see on the right side, it's blank. And by leaving that blank, it gives you kind of a clean sense of design, of organization. And I've got the bullets here, and there's plenty of space between my title and the end of my bulleted list. So by doing that, by organizing this page in that way, it really emphasizes the bullet points. And that's why what white space can do for you is it will emphasize the information that is on the page. So it's easy to read and locate information. It looks clean and professional, and it makes revision easier. If I have to go in here and add a bullet, I've got plenty of space to work with. So it makes it just easier for me to tweak things when I have a generous use of white space. Margins are the border around the page, and typically when you are creating an essay, you use a 1-inch margin around the page. You'll do that for this class. Margin should be 1 inch. They can be more if you're trying to demonstrate the use of white space and you want to kind of emphasize information. They also change, 1 inch is pretty standard for printed material. However, if you have a book or a report that's going to be bound together, your left margin is going to be larger so that to leave room for the binding. Margins provide a neat frame around the type, and again, it helps present or make the information look professional and easy to locate information. And it also provides space for what is called marginal glosses. And marginal glosses are kind of like those little footnotes or side notes that you'll see sometimes in a text to give you more information. Sometimes they might tell you to go to a link or something like that to get more information. So that's what a marginal gloss is. It could define a word, a term, something like that as well. Columns are your friends. They are a way to present a lot of information easily. It's easier to read the text because the lines are shorter. You can fit more information on the page, and it allows you to use the principle of repetition to create a visual pattern for your readers. Typeface is important as well. In my face-to-face class, I will often hand out strips of paper with different typefaces on them and have student groups give a name to the typeface and talk about its gender, how professional it is, those kinds of things. And what often happens is these curly Q, kind of curvy typefaces are often called feminine because they're soft and round. This is French script, and this is really not something that you would want to use in a professional environment. I might use something like this to sign my name in an email. That would probably be the best use of this kind of font in a professional environment. And then we've got Times Roman in the next section, and that's the kind of font that you might find in a book or a newspaper. And then the final paragraph is universe, and that is more of a clean lines, and it's really good for titles and in technical documents or headings. And I'll talk about why in just a minute. Let's see, there we go. Serifs, and that is why. If you go back, I'm going to go back here, you will see that the Times Roman is a serif font and the universe is a sans serif font. And I'll explain what that means. So the serifs are these little lines that you see that I've drawn the little purple lines to. Those are serifs, and those are lines. They work for like the Times New Roman in a newspaper or a book. It allows you to read quickly. It allows the letters to run together into words, and so it's good for, like I said, books and newspapers. Sans serif is a better font to use when you're looking at something online or in a paper document, something that is a heading where you want the individual letters to really be focused on. So a serif font allows you to kind of slide through and read the sentence, where a sans serif font really wants you to pay attention to each letter. So you can see how something as simple as designing your title is impacted by the kind of font you use. Another important thing to think about or consider in design is case. It is much easier to read upper and lower case, all right, than it is to read words that are in all uppercase. You would not want to read an entire document written in all uppercase. It's challenging for the eye, number one, and number two, certainly if it's online, we consider, or many people consider, all uppercase to be shouting. So you don't really want to send an email to someone using all uppercase words unless you're really mad at them. It's just not good design. A couple of issues about font sizes. You have probably played with that a little bit in Word. And footnotes are usually 8 to 9 point. A body text is 10, 11, or 12. I usually go for 11 because that's in the middle, although sometimes I'll go for 12. Headings are 14 point. Indexes are 2 points smaller than the body text. So if my body text is 12, my index is going to be 10. Titles are 18 to 24 points, and slides are 24 to 36 point. In this slide presentation, my headings are 36 point, and my slides are 28 point, or sometimes 32. Another element of design that we want to think about or consider when we're designing documents is line spacing. Now in technical writing, we pretty much are single spaced almost consistently throughout. So we're single spacing. However, there's a couple of different ways that you can organize the page. You can have your subtitle, summary, skip a line, and then have the text that follows. You can have summary, no line, and have the text, or you can have summary and have the text begin, whoops, I'm sorry, let me go back here, summary and have the text begin on the same line as the summary. The key to this is one style is not better than the other. The key is to be consistent throughout the document. So if you're going to use the first, then you're going to use that with subheadings, that spacing with subheadings throughout the entire document. If you're going to follow the second example, you're going to use that throughout the entire document. And same thing with the third. You don't want to be jumping around and using different styles. That really makes the design complicated and muddy and just not nearly as easy to follow. So consistency is really important in document design. Some other features to consider, the word rules are what we call straight lines. Don't ask me why, that's just what they're called. Boxes are rules on all four sides. It's a box, you know what a box looks like. Marginal glosses, brief comment or definition of key terms in the margin, and pull quotes. Think of pull quotes as you've seen them in newspapers or articles where they'll take a quote from the article and just kind of emphasize that in the middle of the document or in the middle of the article. They'll have a box around it. Usually sometimes it looks like a thought bubble or something like that, and it'll just be a quote, and that'll be to get your attention and to really emphasize that particular piece of information. When you're designing effective documents, you want to use design to emphasize important information. So you need to create informative headers and footers. You want your titles to lead the reader to the information that he or she wants to find quickly and easily. So they need to be descriptive titles, headers, subheadings. Your footers, generally numbers, page numbers are footers. This number 21 here in the corner, that's a footer. You can also include date and time. Sometimes companies prefer that so that they know when they have the latest version. And effective document design helps the reader navigate the document. I can't emphasize that enough. So always include any extra features that might help the reader, like a table of contents, like an appendix. And always aim for simplicity. Just because you know how to do a bunch of different things doesn't mean that that's what you want to do. You want to use the simplest, easiest design possible. Some ways to make documents easy to navigate include a sitemap or an index, use a table of contents at the top of long pages, help readers get back to the top of long pages. So this would be for online. You want an up arrow Include a link to the home page on every page. Again, this is for online design. And include textual navigation links at the bottom of the page. So, for example, home or back, that kind of a thing. Some extra features that you might consider, including an FAQ page, a search page, resource links, a printable version of your site, or a text-only version of your site. Any of those elements can improve the readability. Encourage readers to connect with your organization through discussion boards and blogs. Direct readers to your organization's pages on social media sites such as Facebook and Twitter, and direct readers to interactive features on your organization's website. So for example, if you have for more information, email, such and such, you want to have that kind of information clearly labeled so that your readers can connect to others easily. When you're designing your web page, use conservative color combinations to increase the text legibility. You want it to be, the more simplistic it is, the easier it is to read and find information. Avoid decorative graphics. Use thumbnail images that your reader can click on that will explode. It just makes it a little bit easier to navigate and to design the page. Keep the text short and always chunk your information. Keep like information together. Make sure the text is as simple as possible. Structure your sentences as if there were no links in your text, so make it smooth. And indicate what information a linked page contains. So if somebody's your reader will know whether or not they want to click on the link, what information that link will contain, how helpful it will be for them or useful. This is an example that kind of, it uses color, it uses proximity, it uses repetition, it's got this menu on the left-hand side. Let's see, it's got a search engine. So this is a good example of a fairly well-designed document or website. It gives us a lot of information. We see color is clickable. So I see if I want to get common questions, missions and goals, who the director is. This is my contact information, where my headquarters are. So there's a lot of information on this page. We've got it accessible. It's in Spanish. It's got for employees and a staff directory. So this is a pretty well-designed page. Again, you can see that it's using, the only time it uses a serif font is for headings, because again, we want to use sans serif in an online environment because that makes it easier on the eye to read. So, if you have questions about design, you can certainly post them in the questions and comments forum or send me an email, and I will talk to you again soon.